Hello, everyone, and welcome to Living by the Law, the podcast discussing fictional worlds and how wondrous and ridiculous they are. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jude and Guy.
Living by the Law is not currently sponsored. If you'd wish to sponsor us, create a detailed circle of chalk and salt, connecting your boring existence to the great beyond. Start one of our episodes, summoning us to you. Chant your sponsorship offer as you listen to our lore. We will hear you. We always do.
In this episode, we discuss the Great Wheel cosmology of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, exploring the inner planes and the elemental chaos that surrounds them.
So, okay, here's a question for you both. What is boy dinner?
What is boy dinner?
So, it's one of those things that's always a term thrown around by people. Izzy's throws it around a lot. I've heard a lot of other people throw it around a lot, I guess, of like, haha, girl dinner, and it's just like plain pasta with like cheese on it. Or just like chicken with ketchup. I don't know. Something like painfully simple and basic. What is boy dinner? You're like at home on your own and you're like, oh fuck, I don't have to cook for anyone else. It's just me. I don't have time and I can't be fucked cooking. Here's something simple and basic. Like, what is boy dinner to you?
My guilty admission here is that boy dinner for me is similar in the line of like painfully simple, but where it falls specifically is meat pies, which an Australian delicacy. I will just have 12 meat pies for dinner, if left alone.
Entirely fair.
I respect
Just
that.
pastry and meat. The other one, and this isn't boy dinner, this is more gluttony dinner, if I'm being straight, is just the worst McDonald's orders of all time. Like, basically, McDonald's is always gluttony dinner unless it's on a road trip, in which case you get a pass.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Calories don't count on the road trip.
Exactly.
I feel like we have to define boy dinner with a couple things, like simple, easy,
Yep.
moderately unhealthy,
Probably further than that, but yes.
yeah, and thrown together in about 5 minutes.
So
Yeah.
the exact same as girl dinner.
Yeah, basically, it's the whole concept of just being, oh, I'm a little guy. I can't do a complicated meal. I just need simple in my life. I have no. It's taking no agency about your health and cooking dinner, and I am all for it because my boy dinner is you can buy like packaged meat from the supermarket that you just chuck in the oven and then it's done. It's all seasoned and done. And then I'll add 2-minute noodles onto that and I'll chop it up and just eat basically a whole like breast of chicken on 2-minute noodles and then like peas and corn. Frozen peas and corn that I put in the microwave for like 10 minutes.
Okay, I will say my main pre-seasoned meat that I buy is lamb, and so when you said I buy pre-seasoned meat and then put it on 2-minute noodles, I was imagining a piece of lamb on top of 2-minute noodles, and I was having a small moment, but I accepted it.
I don't think I've bought lamb in 5 years.
Lamb good.
Lamb
Good.
Nah, chicken better. That's easy.
Yeah.
I do, like, chicken is king meat. But, like, realistically, what I'm thinking is, like, boy dinner and girl dinner fall on two ends of the simple spectrum. But, like, boy and girl, you know, it's young. There's also, like, probably man dinner and woman dinner. But realistically, all of these fall on different axes. And if we're talking about axes, I gotta talk about my favorite topic, which is today's topic, the D&D planar system of the Great Wheel.
Fuck yeah, that was good.
I'm trying my best.
That was very
solid
good.
3-course meal. If that intro was boy dinner, this episode's going to be a solid 3-course meal.
I didn't have to desperately claw it off you guys, which I'm very happy about. I suspect that Zoom, we're back onto like that politeness track where we're giving each other the space to talk, and I can just gently pull it away from you guys. But today's topic of the Great Wheel, the Dungeons & Dragons planar system. For those who, of course, don't know Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax, you should be aware of this if you're listening to this fucking podcast.
If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Specifically, though, the Great Wheel is the planar system of Dungeons and Dragons 5e. The planar system, I'm going to get into it, but essentially, I'm going to talk about this. It's the vanilla sort of planar setting. It's a personal favorite of mine, not because of any great connection to it. I think we've gone into planar a couple times, but only for short stints to one of the elemental planes, the Feywild, Celestia, the Hells, and the Shadowfell. Is
In
that right?
our own D&D campaign.
In our own D&D campaign, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never done like
three.
Us three.
Yeah.
I actually go to the Realm of Order every afternoon.
Yeah, ordering me some fucking lunch. But like we haven't played like a Planescape campaign or like, you know, any Starbound or anything like that. No. So, I love the the planar Great Wheel system because it tries to be like scientific about this high fantasy concept with these different planes which fall on axes of good and evil, order and chaos. You know, it's these sort of things, and then they're just like, and it's fairies, and also it's crazy. Specifically though, I also just love world building. This is what we're all about. So for today, we're going to go nice and detailed into the canonical Forgotten Realms version of Great Wheel cosmology, looking at the planes, how they work together, and what weird and wonderful things lie within each. Any questions before we take off?
No, I just want to state probably that like I really appreciate these things because they always remind me of like the old mythology of like the 7 or 9, depending on what you read, of like rings of hell or levels of hell, and all like the 7 deadly sins, the 7 virtues. It's trying to like condense all existence down to like a number we can comprehend and like define it. It's like it's also like a little bit kind of works in the real world, like the 4 fundamental forces of physics. It's like trying to put it into a number that we can comprehend. You know,
Humans love categories. Humans love boxes.
Yeah. If we can fit it in a box, we'll put it in a box. You know what I mean?
Oh, God, yeah.
Absolutely. So, to begin, the basics of a planar system. What actually is a plane, you may ask? Someone who knows nothing. Coward, stupid.
It's a big box that flies in the sky.
Kind of true. A plane is essentially a contained universe or world with its own rules, inhabitants, and landscape. They're also, as said, quite often categorized on a number of axes or influences such as good and evil, chaos and order, or the 4 elements, which aren't really axes, but fire and no fire, that's an axis.
That is an axis.
That's an axis.
I mean, fire, water, earth, air.
Are fire and water really opposites?
They are in fantasy.
They are in fantasy. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Another thing to note that will come up with some terminology is layers and realms. They're kind of interchangeable, but they basically just mean subparts of a plane. A layer is usually more distinct. A realm's usually just kind of an area within a plane, but they still, you know, have that distinction. So to clarify, planes are just parts of no, not planes. Layers are parts of a plane.
Hell yeah.
Some planes have 1 layer, some have a bunch, some have literally an unknown number, which we will get to. Just an interesting aside as well that I don't know why I put it here, should have put it earlier, but did you know why the Forgotten Realms is called the Forgotten Realms? I found this out during the research for this episode.
I actually don't.
Because they forgot which realm it was.
Kind of true. Essentially, from page 112 of Dragon Magazine, number 244, there's an interview with Ed Greenwood, who is the guy who originally created the Forgotten Realms, where he states, quote, the Forgotten Realms name originally came from the notion of a multiverse of parallel worlds, very relevant to what we're talking about today. Our Earth is one, and the realms another. In Greenwood's original conception, Earth's fantastic legends derive from the fantasy world that we've now lost a connection to, hence the Forgotten Realms. So the idea essentially is the world of D&D and the Forgotten Realms used to butt up against our world, but since have drifted apart. And it's where we get all of our stuff, which is hilarious because talking about the planar system today, we come across the Greek gods, the Egyptian gods, the Roman gods, the Norse gods, like just endless fucking influences from our things, fairies and ley lines and hills and stuff like that. So lots of fun things.
Hills?
Where it's like,
damn, dude. They got hills?
They do got hills. Shut up.
The ancient hills,
Try my
they're
best
back.
here. I'm not sitting next to you guys. I don't know how to bounce off you as much as I can usually. I'm trying my best here, man. It sounds so much more normal in casual conversation when you're sitting with someone, but now sitting on Zoom, you're just hearing the voice and you're like listening in on the individual words. You bastard. Nonetheless.
We will not let you get one word that's wrong.
Another note here, which I'm also putting just in this notes section, I need to address a mistake I made on the Baldur's Gate episode, which go check that out if you like listening about D&D stuffs. I mentioned that there's the Spelljammer concept of crystal spheres. I literally don't touch on this today. I just wanted to put this here because I made a mistake. I said crystal spheres contain planes. It's the other way round. Planes contain crystal spheres, which the concept of... to get to it, I'm kind of jumping ahead and jumping back and forth. The prime material plane might have a crystal sphere that has Earth, but might also have one that has the Forgotten Realms. They're essentially worlds within the plane.
Yeah, right, okay.
Just to clarify a thing, again, if you don't know what any of that means, ignore it, we're moving on.
Yeah.
From the planes, what is a planar system? The planes, or the Great Wheel, or the multiverse, or the world axis, depending on which version you're looking at, are a series of planes which come together to create reality, essentially. Each of the planes form flows of energy, all of which move towards the center of the Great Wheel, all arriving at the prime material plane or the normal world. You know, just kind of where the adventure usually takes place. You know, rolling hills, gnomes, elves, fantasy, whatever the fuck else.
Yeah.
As the wheel term suggests, there are rings of planes with the prime, inner, upper, and outer planes existing as you kind of move outwards from the center. A note, again, what I'm talking about here specifically is from the core 5th edition books, but a lot of information coming out of the DMG from 2014, Dungeon Master's Guide, which no doubt is going to be rewritten in a fucking month because we're literally a month away from the 2024 version coming out. I pick good timing sometimes, I pick bad timings other times. A fun note here about what the DMG specifically says about your planar system, though, it gives minimum requirements, which is you need a plane of origins for fiends, a plane of origin for celestials, a plane of origin for elementals, a place for deities, which could be one of the above, a place where mortal spirits go after death, which could be one of the above, and a way of getting from one plane to the other, as well as the astral and ethereal plane. Again, I'll explain what that is and how it's important in a second. Another note is, once you've decided on the planes you want to use in your campaign, putting them together into a coherent cosmology is an optional step. So basically, the entire contents of today's video is optional.
Yeah. Yeah, there's D&D, right? Like, because you can also just ignore all of that and go, here is our world, ladies and gentlemen.
Exactly, yeah.
Any rule in D&D is technically optional.
I do like as well in the DMG, it has some suggested cosmologies, and one of them is great, which is one world. In this model, there are no other planes of existence, but the material plane includes places like the Bottomless Abyss, the Shining Mount Celestia, the Strange City of Mechanus, the Fortress of Acheron, and so on. All of the planes' locations are in the world, reachable by ordinary means of travels. You just walk there. I'm just going to walk to hell. Though extraordinary effort is required, for example, to sail across the sea to the Blessed Isles of Elysium. I like that idea. Everything's reachable. Just get a fucking boat.
Can I
you gotta be good at it.
Can I make a live on air confession right here? There was a very, very, very brief period of time in the early days of me creating my homebrew D&D world where I toyed with the idea of having everything on one plane.
Interesting. I mean, it's kind of like Middle Earth.
Yeah,
where
exactly.
you have like the realm of the gods is just across the ocean.
Yeah,
Across
that's
the
why
ocean,
that's why I was considering. But yeah, having like Valinor style thing where it's like the god lands just to the bit to the west, you know.
Then they made the world round. It's kind of impossible to get there now.
No, you have to know the way.
You have to know
Easy.
the way.
Easy.
It's
You
like
have
the,
to get
Pirates of the
zupped up
Caribbean.
by God. Zoop.
No, you just have to know the way. You just have to know the way. There's a
have to know
particular
the way.
course. There is a particular course.
There's a couple of examples of just knowing the way on these sort of ones, which is very fun. Nonetheless, speaking of
You have to have an invite, you know?
Speaking of traveling between them, the ways between. How do you get to these wondrous new worlds and planes? Depending on the story, what the story demands, it can be a grueling trial, climbing the tallest mountain in the lands to access a hidden cave in which there's an ancient ritual circle placed there many years ago upon the ley lines by dead sorcerers, which you activate in some massive ritual. Or sometimes you can fall into a pond and end up in the Feywild, which, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's,
That's
again,
very
very
Narnia.
much a thing to remember about this as we step through is that these are very much story writing tools, essentially. They're just ways for you to, you know, have locations that are good for things. You might have a warrior who seeks to, you know, reach the plains of Ysgard or, you know, a demon from the pits of hell, the Nine Hells, which there is entire campaigns on.
This is true. This is true.
nonetheless. The Forgotten Realms, there's a couple different ways to move between realms. There's a couple of reasonable ones. There's a high-level Solvor, which is the spell Plane Shift, which just takes you to another plane if you've got the attuned fork for it. If you don't know what that means, tuning forks are tuned to different planes of existence because of certain frequencies and notes. It has to do with bardic magic, I believe, although, again, depends on your DM.
Yeah, isn't there some sort of like theory about like the weave is just like different notes? It's kind of a bit like string theory in a magic sense. Every note is on like a different plane. You can like vibrate through them.
Also depends on how much of a Tolkien nerd your DM is and if they abide by Tolkien's Song of Creation rules, but you know.
Or if they're a Viking nerd and they like the world tree. Again, a lot of these are possible. There is also the lower level option of fixed portals or just connections to the prime material, which come in various forms. Portals might appear in places connected to the other planes, such as the Underdark for the Shadowfell, the Underdark being a massive series of caves underneath the Forgotten Realms setting, deep in the ocean for the Plane of Water, or perhaps a lush forest or a mushroom circle for the Feywild or the Beastlands. There are also some geographic features that reach through the planes, such as the River Styx, which flows through the evil-aligned outer planes, or the Astral Plane, which covers the inner planes. There's a lot of terms I'm throwing around that we're going to explain in a bit, but you get the gist. There's also the lesser-known river of Oceanus, which actually connects Elysium to Beastlands before ending in Arborea. Depending on the tides, it can also connect to Ysgard, but depends. Speaking of, this idea, there's also the world tree concept, which I think, Jude, you're using at least partially in our setting?
Maybe.
We've been there before. We've been there once.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of the last campaign. Come on.
We were there twice.
Okay, yeah, we were there twice, and we
come on,
murdered
get
people, and we
good.
murdered people once, and found a murdered guy the other time. So,
Yep.
I don't know if I want to go back.
Yeah.
For the planes. So for this next part, this is going to be the bulk of the episode. This is just literally going to be going around and round and round the wheel, looking at all the different planes as we head outwards, beginning, of course, with the prime material. A note, some of them will be shorter than others. There's always a least favorite child. Some of them just don't have a lot of detail. Some of them do.
I feel like the prime material plane is like what DC does. Like they're like main Superman. Their main Batman is called like Earth Prime, and I'm like, who decided you were like the number one universe? You know what I mean? Like why is it you? Is it just because you named it?
I can't wait for a wizard in my setting to just be like, actually, we've discovered that the entire planar system rotates around Arcanon or something like that.
That would be so fun. Burn him. Burn that man. Get
exactly.
him.
Heliocentric model purist. Incredible.
Put him to the stone.
Put him to the stake. The prime material plane falls at the center of the Great Wheel. As said before, this is within normal world where most of your adventures will take place. Like 75% of adventures are never going to leave this plane. This is where it all takes place, including Earth. Earth is technically on the prime material plane, according to the lore. To go back to the thing that I mentioned earlier, the crystal spheres part, crystal spheres surround galaxies or worlds that fall within a plane. You might have a crystal sphere that it contains Earth that doesn't have a connection to the outer worlds. You might have one that has the Forgotten Realms, which does have connections to the outer realms or planes. Depends on the setting.
Yeah, I've read a couple different ones. So in the default, like whatever like the standard is it that like all, if you go into space, for example, is that all all planets are on the material plane?
So technically, yeah. So a space is the parts in between the worlds on the prime material plane inside the crystal sphere, which is inside ether space. That's a Spelljammer concept.
Yeah.
It kind of goes crazy, but yes, essentially, yes. There is technically in D&D the concept of the astral plane, which if you've never thought about that world, astral, like space.
I've actually never thought about that.
I know, right? No, literally, I was doing research for this. I'm like, that makes sense.
I've always imagined it's just like a space between worlds.
It is. It kind of is, but it does follow similar rules to... Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves with the astral plane. That's next. We'll get there soon.
Yeah.
Generally, with the prime material plane, it will contain the variety of all the multiverse, although with none of the extremes that some of the outer planes bring. Some worlds in the prime material have access to the outer planes, others do not. As said, D&D, normal world versus the Forgotten Realms versus whatever else, depends on your setting. Generally, D&D settings will have some connection to the outer planes, unless your DM is doing very gritty fantasy, in which case, why are you playing a game with wizards in it? We might as well play the war sim games. Nonetheless, we will move
Hey,
on.
we
don't disparage
shame.
between TTRPG groups. Absolutely,
we don't fantasy shame here.
No, everyone's free to their.
We just kink shame.
Yeah, we do.
I don't know if we do. Okay.
I'm going to start king shaming. This is this episode. We begin next, moving outwards from the center. The center ball here is made up of, these are the inner planes, the prime material falls at the very center, and then above and below it fall the astral plane and the ethereal plane. Technically not above and below, although some versions do have the astral plane above. Specifically, 4th edition, the World Axis had the astral plane above. But for our sake, the astral plane is the space between worlds. It's called one of the transitive planes. The astral plane is the space between worlds. It is a great silvery soup where you can move by thinking, and most of it is very, very empty. There are a few things in the landscape, though, including forgotten things, such as dead gods. Real thing. So specifically, an example of thing that you might have seen before is in Baldur's Gate 3, if you go to visit your Dream Visitor, this is a little bit into the game for some people, you'll meet them on a giant floating skeleton, it looks like. That is actually the body of a dead god in the Astral Sea. And other things from the Forgotten Things is psychic winds form from discarded thoughts, worries, and concerns. Your underlying thoughts flow into the Astral Sea. And these forces conglomerate into psychic winds, which can blow you off the entire plane sometimes, or sometimes just leave you dazed and addled, sent into space. Otherwise, the other thing on this plane is a bit of interconnection. As this is the space between worlds, you will find color pools, which is a very boring name for a very cool idea, which are discs of color where the planes intersect, each being colored, being about, I think it said like a centimeter thick. They're just giant spinning colors, coin colors, with the colors linking to each of the other planes. Specifically, if you're in the astral plane and you're lost, look for a silver pool, because that will take you back to the prime material plane.
Good to know.
Good to know. Otherwise, there's also some creatures here. Specifically, our old pals from the Baldur's Gate episode, the Githyanki, reptilian humanoids who travel the seas after being after being prisoners of the Mind Flayers. The Githyanki also find their home on a chunk of Old God, with a similar thing, as said, being exemplified in Baldur's Gate 3. The astral plane is one of the planes that has a special way of getting there, though, specifically being able, if you can plane shift or teleport, but also there are ways to get there, such as astral projection, which is a spell entirely dedicated to navigating the astral sea. That's the astral plane. There's not a lot out there. It's just a big bit of space and some color discs.
Isn't technically like a spell like Blink? You technically go to the astral plane for like a turn.
Blink, Blink, you touch into the ethereal plane, which we're getting into next.
Oh, my bad.
So where the astral plane is the space between worlds, the ethereal plane is the plane that sits alongside the real world. It's almost like a ghost mirroring. It's the underside. It's where ghosts and ethereal things find their place. Actual ghosts will often freely move between the ethereal plane and the normal world, as the ethereal plane kind of coats all of the inner planes.
So that's why like ghosts can like move and not be seen, but they can see us.
Correct. And an interesting note here, which I didn't actually know, the ethereal plane only extends to the inner plane. So if you're on the outer planes, Nine Hells, all of the rest of them, which I'm going to go over, you can't actually access the ethereal plane. You cannot cast a couple of different spells to let you into the ethereal plane. Blink still works for some godforsaken reason, although technically by law it shouldn't.
Interesting, because I definitely remember someone using Blink when we were in like one of the Nine Hells, and I was like,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So, sorry, I was going to say, I've lost it. Sorry,
He's lost it. It's gone. ADHD's taken him.
It's gone to the astral sea. Sorry.
Exactly. So,
Can I jump in?
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure of fact checking myself to make sure.
No, I love to be fact-checked mid-episode, absolutely.
No, fact checking myself before I say a thing.
What? No, absolutely. No, I want to be
you should say
fact-checked.
So to put it out of D&D terms and into other terms that we talked about before, in Sanderson's realmatic theory, physical realm is the prime material plane. The astral plane in D&D can be
Equivalated?
equivalated, yes. equivalated to the spiritual plane, the spiritual realm, and then the cognitive realm can be attributed to the ethereal realm.
I also feel like that kind of ethereal plane kind of belongs in like the Lord of the Rings, like at least the movies where Frodo puts the ring on.
Oh no,
And it
100%.
reads-
It's the spirit
100%.
world. Yeah.
100%.
What do they call it?
Yeah.
The unseen world or whatever?
The unseen world. Yeah. Depends
I
on.
don't know. He
what
gets
you're
stabbed
watching.
in it. That's all I know.
Yeah.
I also have to voice. Literally was finishing writing the pieces of this script this afternoon, and I felt a tickle in the back of my throat, and I'm realizing I'm getting a cold as we speak, so we need to get through this episode before I start snorting.
We're all dying.
Apologies.
The world-
Apologies.
the world
Yeah,
is-
we're all dying slowly. That's why we're recording from home today. Apologies, listener. Nonetheless, ethereal plane. You can use spells such as blink or etherealness to enter the ethereal plane briefly, although technically what you're interacting with is called the border ethereal, which is the area where the ethereal plane and the material world kind of overlap. From your point of view, when you're in this realm, it looks like you're looking at the real world through frosted glass. And the plane that you're on now is full of mist and fog so thick that visibility only goes out to about 60 feet. There are also connections to the inner planes from here, deep in the ethereal plane, reaching to the elemental planes, the prime material plane, the Feywild, and the Shadowfell. Sorry, I messed up. The astral sea touches the outer planes, the ethereal plane touches the inner planes. I messed up.
Interesting. Okay.
So in the inner planes here, there are curtains of fog that are similarly coloured to the colour pools. Again, this is another way that you can access things. I was not aware that it was so fucking easy to get between the different internal planes and the external planes by just going to the astral sea and the ethereal plane. Of course, the issue being, how do you get to those ones to begin with? Nonetheless,
Yeah.
if you've only got budget for one fork, get one to the astral or ethereal.
Yeah.
Then you're still going to find these floating portals that are moving, I imagine.
Yeah, but you can just, like, in the astral plane, you can think your way through space. You just, like, imagine yourself going forward and you start flying. There's actually a thing which is your intelligence dictates the speed at which you can fly.
Yeah, it's your movement
So big
speed.
brain characters can just
Sick.
Magneto along.
Yeah.
The ethereal plane's a little bit more sneaky. I think it's something like 1d10 times 10 hours for every journey, like no matter where you're going. It's just time and distance mean nothing in this plane. Specifically, the inner parts of the ethereal plane are called the deep ethereal. Here it's very thick, and it's mostly where the ethereal curtains that I mentioned are. There are dangers here too, though, which are things like the ether cyclones, which are swirling storms of energy from where the planes rub up against each other like tectonic plates, creating great, friction energies that form into these maelstroms of a ghost energy.
That is kind of sick to imagine, though.
They can throw people off course or even chuck them out of the plane. You can actually end up in the astral sea from the ethereal plane by going through one of those tornadoes. So similar to the astral plane, there are small pockets of life here, such as the Radiant Citadel, which is featured in Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel book, being a city attached to a massive auroral diamond, a sort of magical crystal, which has been around for ages. It was founded by a bunch of ancient civilizations, abandoned, and then rediscovered again. Which is super interesting because there is also a tornado, one of those astral ether tornadoes that I mentioned, that hangs nearby called the Keening Gloom, which essentially just like comes in closer when the city is unrest and then goes away again, and it just kind of hangs out nearby. There's no real explanation for what it is or why it's there.
It's just lurking. Don't worry
It's
about
just
it.
hanging. It's just chilling.
To be having a good time. He's there to check the vibes. If the vibes are off, he will make sure they're back on track.
To be fair, the Radiant Citadel sounds extremely cool. It's basically a place of refugees. It's got lots of little areas and lots of little bits of magic. It's one of those cool cities that you find as a setting in D&D.
I can kind of... Sorry for interrupting. I
go,
kind of
go.
understand something existing in the astral sea because it's kind of empty space, right? But ethereal plane kind of doesn't make any sense to me for like a place to exist because it's like on top of the real world. So does it intersect with what if you're there and there's like a building? Does it move around the world or is it in like a set location?
That is, to pull back the curtain, we did pause for a second because I had to double check that I was right in the fact that it's in the ethereal plane, because with the context of the rest of this, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, 100% it's in the ethereal plane. I don't know.
I wonder.
I think it's just.
maybe-
I think the thing is that hold up. The border ethereal butts up against the other realms. There is actually a body of the realm, which is the deep ethereal, which is like the middle of the plane. So you can kind of think of it as like having edges that touch a lot of planes, but the actual body of the plane itself is like a place.
Interesting.
It depends what,
makes
because
it-
like not to like. I know they're two different things, and it's definitely not the case here. But I guess the Sanderson version of the ethereal plane, the way that he kind of gets away with it is that if you're on a planet in the physical realm and you're standing on land, if you go into the spiritual realm or the cognitive realm, whatever you want to fucking call it, depending on your setting, you go into the spirit world in the same spot. What is land is now water, and what is water is now land.
I remember this.
Yeah.
I remember this.
So they can have like entire cities in like the spirit world that are made out of like spiritiness, but then it just, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know. Have you ever? I don't know if any of you have ever read the Open Newton series. It's one I have to do an episode on eventually because it's crazy. But yeah, they kind of push themselves away from the world, both up and down, kind of similar to the astral and the ethereal. Mm-hmm. And the further you go away, the more the world disappears. Maybe it's like the deeper you go into the realm, the more the world disappears. Not really in the 3 dimensions like we imagine, like up, down, left, right. Just like away from the world. I don't know. I've felt a lot of worlds when you have traveled between worlds. It's like
but that's
away.
That's a really good a version of this, because all of the planes have a sort of part that is deeper and closer into the center of the realm, and they're not always strictly defined. We're working with 4-dimensional spaces essentially.
Yeah, it's something we can't really picture with our 3D mind, but it's also like it's just a feeling and magic a lot of the time described in books that I've read.
But yes, as said, the ethereal plane, like this auroral diamond that they find is, supposedly from some ancient civilizations that set it up. And there's literally a part where there's a part carved out inside the diamond which has most of the life. There's a little foresty jungle sort of thing, and no one who lives on the Citadel has any fucking idea how they cut it in there because the auroral diamond is so strong. So whatever ancient magic was used to carve it out, we don't know anymore. No fucking idea. Nonetheless, those are the transitive planes, so the ethereal and the astral sea. Nice. We're now going to move on to the other parts of it, which are the echo planes. These are the Feywild and the Shadowfell. So these are usually mirroring the actual prime material plane, and in some ways will replicate them or look similar to them at certain spots. So, the Feywild. The Feywild sits opposing the Shadowfell on the axis of life versus death. The Feywild has life beyond bound, almost to a chaotic degree, with fairy magic or fey creatures originating from this plane, as well as, chaos magic and lots of parts like that. You'll get a wild magic sorcerer draws their power from the Feywild quite often. The entire Feywild acts as a bit of a playhouse mirror, with features on the prime material plane being exaggerated tenfold. A small hill will become mountains, a small bubbling brook will become a massive flowing river, and cool dark forests become, tangled undergrowths impossible to navigate. These sort of exaggerated nature features.
Oh, cool. I've never heard of that before for a Feywild.
Yeah, no,
I've different interpretations, like it's a land that can't be mapped, that changes every morning when you wake up and stuff like that, or like it's like, I don't know, it's just so wild that it has a mind of its own.
Technically, it also does have this, but the idea that I've seen is that once you get in there, it supposedly mirrors it. I don't know how those two concepts, interact, but it's the Feywild. There's no rules.
Yeah,
I guess both it is changing the world to match it, but also you don't always end up in the same place. When you walk through for a forest in the real world, you'll end up to the other side of that forest. But in the Wales, you might walk in that forest and end up miles away.
An interesting thing here we also see with we begin to move in some more populated planes are some types of creatures. This plane being home to various creatures such as fairies, elves, dryads, unicorns, tree ants, as well as some darker magical creatures like hags, goblins, ogres, and giants.
Did you say tree ants?
Tree ants, indeed.
They got ants in trees?
They got ants in trees. They got
Whole
big
ants.
fucking tree man.
This is Quantumania, Ant-Man and Quantumania all over again. We got
That's
ants.
how tree ants work. It's just full of ants.
Yeah,
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, tree ants, as I pronounce it, are just full of ants. They're just trees full of ants. That's how they move. Yeah.
With creatures, of course, comes politics, as they always do, and with the Feywild being... the Feywild particularly is ruled by the Seelie, the Summer Court, and the Unseelie, the Gloaming Court. Gloaming means twilight, which I did not know. While these would appear to be good and bad aligned, it's rarely that simple with Fey, with, entire wars being fought alongside, them then walking out and being like, hey, good fight, good game, where, a simple game of some ball game could actually be deciding the fate of the two kingdoms. very complicated relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing of note about the Feywild and the Echo Planes in general is they're much easier to access than a lot of the other planes. The Feywild can be accessed through places of perfect mirror of the Feywild, usually being places of great natural beauty, perhaps a grand tree, or a place of magic or mystery, such as mushroom circles or the hollows of fallen trees. These places are usually only open under special circumstances, such as a full moon or having, the blessing of a Fey creature.
I feel like the Fae love to mess with the material plane, so they open up all these fucking portals all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Be careful though, as traveling to and from the plane will often be very confusing, as time works differently in the plane. There's a chance that when you leave, the entire years-long journey will have only taken a day or two in the prime material plane, or on the other end, your 5-minute journey might have turned into 5 years in the prime material. Technically, you do have to stay for an entire day for that effect to take, according to the Dungeon Master's Guide, but meh.
I think it's one of those things that I think is there for game balance, but like
It's not fun.
In a fluff sense, 5 minutes could become 5 years.
Yeah.
You also have a 50-50 chance of losing your memories if you've got a 0 wisdom score.
This is true.
And with that, we move on to the Shadowfell.
Woohoo.
The Shadowfell is the evil or death reflection of the real world, with crossings to this echo plane being only in darkness. The mentioned ones are open graves and abandoned mausoleums. The shadows will, entering the shadows will take you to the Shadowfell. Usually they're places of death and decay, ancient ritual sacrifices, long dead evil castles. I wrote evil castles, I don't know what that...
This is the place you go to if you don't run up the stairs quick enough when you leave the basement.
Correct, 100% correct. The reflection of the real world here are amplified in ways similar to the Feywild, but instead of being more alive or grand, they are more dark and twisted. With a city may become a grand ruin, a forest can become dark and twisted with brambles and spiders, that sort of thing. Unsurprisingly, a lot of dead and necromantic creatures find their home here, such as ghosts, zombies, shadow dragons, and vampires. Slivers of the Shadowfell...
Shadow dragons, what the fuck?
Shadow dragons. They're big, shadowy evil dragons. You can get the picture.
So when a dragon flies overhead, there's actually a shadow on the ground?
My shadow's more hung than me, yeah.
Your shadow is more hung than you.
It's just a drag. Imagine every dragon or every person has just a shadow in the realm, has to keep up with you all the time. It's just it's a day job,
Yeah, this is a Nintendo game. There's an evil shadow version of me that's chasing me around.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes he gets sick of his job and starts to beat me up.
This is true.
Slivers of the Shadowfell are ruled over by Dark Lords. One word, don't know why it's a title apparently, who twist the plane into smaller demi-planes, the most well-known being Barovia, where the Curse of Strahd campaign takes place, ruled by Baron von Strahd, the first vampire. Barovia. Interestingly, these slivers are often prisons made for the Dark Lords, who are placed there by the Dark Powers, the rulers of the Shadowfell. The Dark Powers don't have a ton of expounding information on what they are, but hypothetically, they're just ancient dread powers, evil skeletons with crystals in the eyes and shit like that.
How could we possibly know what they are? They're in the shadows.
Exactly. They're so hidden.
It's true. They're so dark. Ooh.
So yeah, the Shadowfell.
Why would the Dark Powers trap the Dark Lords? Surely they're underlings, right? Like it's like why does Satan, if Satan's so evil, why does he punish the bad people?
My understanding is that basically anything that doesn't align on an axis will oppose each other, and with the Shadowfell, my suspicion is that the Dark Powers are the Order versus the Dark Lords, who are the chaos side of it. It's like the Blood War is between demons and devils, which sounds the exact same to most people, but demons are chaotic evil versus devils who are lawful evil. It's one of those things.
I can imagine the Dark Powers is this is their realm, and the Dark Lords are people trying to upset that balance and trying to take shit.
Yeah. Strahd is the first vampire. He must have done something fucked up.
Yeah, that's not natural.
Listen, I never read the campaign book just in case I end up playing it, so I can't know these things.
I guess there are rules in every realm, and death is just a natural part of life and has that balance. So if people start to mess with that, bring people back from the dead, they'll be like, what the fuck? They're my guys. Stop putting the dead people back in the material plane. They're my fuck.
Yeah, that's always my favorite trope, where the god of death despises necromancy and undeath, and undeath and death being two very different things.
It's like, you piece of shit. They're my people.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys,
exactly.
I told you ahead of time. When people die, they need to stay dead. What are you fucking around
It's
for?
like my one job, and every time you mess it up, I get a call from upstairs, and they are pissed at me.
Oh, Jesus. Anyway, all of those fall at the center of the world. The ethereal and the astral kind of finding themselves around these small planes, but this, the Feywild, the prime material, and the Shadowfell form the core of this particular celestial wheel. Just around them, we find the inner planes, which are specifically the elemental planes. All of the mentioned planes fall at the center of the wheel, progress one ring outwards. The material plane, the Feywild, and the Shadowfell make up the center. The ethereal plane sit in to weave them. But yes, running through the elemental planes, we'll go through each of those. They are the standard
the next. They're like
next
the,
layer outwards.
So if the prime material, the Feywild, and the Shadowfell are the Stokes of the wheel, we're now on like the rubber part of the wheel.
Not quite at the rubber yet. Those would be the outer planes.
This is the inner wheel.
Yeah, the prime material,
like
the prime material, the
metal
Shadowfell,
part,
and the Feywild are like that center gear. Now we're moving to the spokes. This is like the
Okay.
building blocks. This is what
okay.
holds it all together.
Yeah.
So the elemental planes hold it all together. Again, going in a ring, starting at the plane of fire.
Woohoo!
Plane of fire is
That's
a
hot.
vast. What?
That's hot.
Ardesart?
That's hot. I'm bringing back like a I can't
fucking
remember the
Will
20
Smith meme.
Will
year, my
Smith
lord,
meme from like
2024.
Wow.
Ooh, no
So is
wonder
this-
it took my brain so long to process that.
So this is like we've done this one before, right? This is the edgy guy, and he's like trying to prove himself and become like a fire lord or something, and their martial arts styles like
Correct.
aggressive
And there is the
stuff.
avatar, which is born in a rotating, around.
Yeah,
He's trying to get his honor, He's all
Yeah.
about his honor.
Yeah.
The plane of fire is a vast desert
Cool.
with winds of thick ash and smoke. The sun is constantly at its zenith above, only changing in a sort of eclipse fashion, being at its dimmest a dark red orb floating in the sky, and at its highest, most open, being a blinding white dot, casting heat down upon the plane. The city of Brass is the most iconic location in this game, with the Ifrit, or fire genies, finding their home here. The city of Brass is well known for its insane magic items, with the Ifrit often drawing hefty prices or bargains for their services. You never want to make a deal with an Ifrit, but if your mother's got an ancient curse as a disease, it might be the only way to fix that. The edge of the realm here sits against two other elemental planes, as they all do. It's a big wheel, with the edge sitting against the plane of Earth, being the fountains of creation, just lava and magma, which, that's true. It's volcanoes, magma, and lava.
good.
It's
I like
what...
it.
It's the forges of creation, except we're creating the earth. It's not like a forge or anything, so I don't know why it's called that, but eh. The other edge is against the plane of air, which is the Sea of Fire, a massive lake of lava. The city of Brass sits on the shore here, and in amongst it there are islands of basalt, which are home to powerful elementals or red dragons. Powerful fire elementals specifically, not just any elemental.
I was gonna say no.
No, the rest of them would fucking die here.
You said Infreet, that's like the fire genies, right?
Ifrit, Efreet. Yes, fire genies. Each of the planes have genies on them, specifically elementally aligned. I will mention each of them. They're one of the features. You can assume that there's elementals spread across the plane, as well as a couple of other aligned creatures. I think salamanders are one of the ones that you'll find on the plane of fire, which aren't salamanders from our world. They're like little fire lizards.
Yeah. That's what a
They're much,
salamander is in our
they're
world.
much cuter.
Yeah, but you can't set a salamander on fire without getting a visit from someone.
Yeah, it really makes me sad. I still remember when in the PS2 game, Harry Potter and like the Prison of Azkaban or the Chamber of Secrets, one of those.
Mm-hmm.
One of the enemies you fight are like little fire lizards, salamanders, and I wanted one so bad. It's just a little fire lizard.
He's just a little guy. He's just
It's
a little
like-
guy.
It's like a dragon in training. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Yeah, a little baby dragon.
baby dragon, but doesn't grow into a real dragon.
Moving from the plane of fire around to the plane of earth. Plane of earth is a great set of mountains, more vast, taller, and deeper than anywhere on the material plane. Obviously, it's their fucking job. Within these mountains are a more normal sort of habitable area. with an incredibly vast network of caves, crevices, and tunnels, meeting in great wide caverns that have small pockets of life, indeed, set amongst them. This plane is home to the Dows, Earth Genies, who value fine craftsmanship, solid planning, and slavery. They are the most industrious of the elemental genies. What? They love slavery because they've got so many tunnels to dig.
Yeah, makes sense.
They got lots of mining to do.
I like how Jude was like anti calling this kink shaming, but he's for slavery. I like this. I like where he sets the standards. You know what I mean?
Is slavery a kink?
No.
I mean, chains, whips, servitude.
No, back up.
This just sounds like a kink thing, I'm not going to lie.
It's only a kink thing if it's consensual.
That's true.
Put that on a shirt.
Put that on a shirt. Slavery's only a kink thing if it's consensual. That's
I
our
don't need
first
slavery
shirt
in
that
there.
we as a podcast are
Don't
going
need
to...
slavery.
But what if someone's kink is not having consent?
Then I'm shaming it. Honestly, that's fine.
Non-con's terrifying. Anyway, nonetheless, let's move away from here as fast as possible. They are the most industrious of the elemental genies, clearing out massive tunnels and gathering large collections of gems and gold from within their earthen home. The area sitting next to the plane of fire is called the Furnaces, becoming legendarily powerful forges capable of processing the enormous amounts of material which the Dows excavate and melting basically any material they need to. If you need
They are forges. You said they weren't forges. They are.
No, this
forges.
is on the Earth side of it. The fire side of it, against the Earth side, there's an intermingling barrier between them, which is the plane of magma, if I'm not wrong. But where the Earth plane,
Little demi-plane of magma.
It's actually called the quasi-elemental plane of magma.
So sorry.
Come on,
Jeez,
man, get your
Matt,
terminology
come
right.
on.
But the fire and the earth plane sit up against each other. Where the fire plane meets the earth plane, it's the magma. Where the earth plane meets the fire plane, it's the forges, because there's more earth than there is fire. Ideally, in a forge, you want less things to be on fire than not.
This is true.
Depends how much experience you have in the forge.
Depends
That's
which
true.
craftsman you're using, I guess.
Yeah, it depends if your dwarf's a coward or not.
Depends if you resist fire or not.
Exactly. On the other side, next to the plane of water, there are the mud hills, where the edges of the mountains are constantly degrading and wearing away, sliding into the bottomless swamp of the plane of ooze. We'll get to some of those in a minute. Yeah, the plane of ooze is one of the 8 central ones. So yes, plane of earth.
Mm-hmm.
I keep putting up camp, but I keep sliding into the plane of ooze.
Man, I tried to look up this mountain, such a great view, but I thought I fell in the ooze.
It's like beachside property, but it keeps getting dissolved every 3 years.
Oh my god.
There would totally be some crafty little fucking fey salesman who keeps selling beachside properties that are
Definitely some sort of
Yeah.
water genie that does that.
They keep sliding it. It's so fun.
Or Earth genie.
Yeah, I mean, the Dows would do it. I don't doubt that. Anyway, the plane of earth done. Plane of water is where it's at. The plane of water is just a massive fucking ocean.
Yep.
I don't know what you
that's
expect.
it. Yeah.
It's water, baby.
It's water, baby. It's called the Sea of Worlds, and it does actually have a surface. I thought originally it was just pure water. Not true. It does have a surface, various atolls and islands dotting that surface, with coral cities just on the shallow beneath. The largest island is called the Isle of Dread, which has a permanent connection to the material plane via a storm that sweeps across the island. The sky above moves from torrential rain to beautiful auroras and stars, all the wonderful things you would be able to see upon the sea. There's also storms that move across the ocean in this plane, which often open up portals to the material plane, sucking ships across to this vast new ocean where they often become trapped. Massive tsunamis also wreak havoc upon any surface dwellers, often completely destroying the small homes that they've cobbled together on these little atolls. Pretty nice place to live, pretty terrifying place to live.
Wonderful, yeah. It's great.
As all of them are, but out of all of them, I think the plane of water is technically the most survivable.
Yeah.
If you have something that
probably.
floats, yeah.
You can-
If you
go
don't
by
have
the-
something that floats, you're dying instantly.
If you go via the main storm, you end up on the Isle of Dread. You're fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, just go to one of the little islands. You're fine.
I don't want to be on the Isle of Dread, I'll be honest.
What's wrong? It's called the Isle of Dread. It's fine. It's cute.
Good.
Hey, I'm sure all those little atolls and stuff that dot the fucking plane of water, I bet I can find one that's just like a little tiki island or something, you know? Just a few much. I'm just going to be there with my coconuts and some local population of weird little eel people, and we're going to have a time, and they're going to give me cool massages on the beach, and I'm going to sip from coconuts.
How are they going to massage you if they don't have hands?
Oh, the eel things have got hands.
Wait, hang on. Is the eel head vertical or is it 90 degrees?
It's 90 degrees, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
They're walking right angles with big little arms.
Yeah, perfect.
And big little eel faces, like, you know?
Eels have the worst faces. I think that is.
I know.
That's an
Imagine one of
agreeable
those
fact.
walking around.
They're so cute. What do you mean? I remember when I was in New Zealand, I got to pat some eels, and they're so cute.
Don't talk
Okay,
to me.
I'm gonna be honest. Like,
If you
look
don't
up
have
a
Maori-
moray eel and then tell me
Yeah,
that
they're
that's
not
cute.
They're cute. They're just they're like dumb. They look goofy.
They'll fucking
What do you
annihilate your
mean?
finger. And
They
also,
will not. They are nice animals. Eels are nice animals.
if you don't have Mario 64 trauma, then don't talk to me. Don't talk to
Okay.
me.
Okay, that's like saying all chickens are bad because I played Zelda. You know?
But there's chickens
they
aren't
are.
scary. They just mob you. The thing in fucking what is it called? Deep Harbor, whatever the fuck it is. The Mario 64 level, scary. Don't like it. It's the same as the Mario Galaxy one. The Mario Galaxy ones are fucked up too.
Eels are nice.
Awful. Slightly beneath the waves is the Citadel of 1,000 Pearls, home to the Myriad or the Water Genies. Much further below in the depths are what are called, creatively enough, the Darkened Depths, which are home to all the horrors of the sea, including, massive squids, leviathans, dragon turtles, all these crazy creatures, with some of them actually being large enough to support ecosystems all their own.
Sick.
The edge of the plane of Earth is edge up against the plane of Earth is filled with silt and mud off those fucking mountains, eventually becoming land or a swamp as it transitions to the plane of Ooze. The edge up against the plane of Air is the Sea of Ice, with massive icebergs and glaciers swept by blizzards. Yetis, white dragons, and other creatures find their home here.
It's kind of sick.
It's
And
delightful.
they've got gaming companies on that edge. Damn.
Yes,
Blizzards.
Yetis. Good on you. Blizzards and Yetis. They got microphones and World of Warcraft.
Yeah. Yeah, just World of Warcraft. That's it.
Exactly.
No Overwatch. What a world. What a beautiful world.
Life could be a
No,
dream.
they've actually got the original Overwatch.
Damn, gotta get me to the plane of water. They got the original Overwatch.
Exactly.
You know what meme hasn't been made but needs to be made? You know the one where it's like, I think it's from Bullet Train maybe, where Brad Pitt's like chasing after a train, he like jumps onto the back and is trying to break through the glass. It's like that, but if you get onto this train, Overwatch reverts back to Overwatch
I've definitely
1.
seen that.
Oh, okay. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when
Good
someone
meme, though.
tries to tell a joke and it's just like, nah, seen it.
He's just saying it's what's never been done. I don't want it to be wrong, dude. I would never
Let
want.
the
That's
fans
worst
fact
thing.
check us, then we get comment interactions.
No.
Nonetheless, moving on from the plane of water, we move on to the plane of air, our final of the four. The plane of air is open sky. Crazy. A lot of these are pretty on point for what you'd kind of expect. Clouds, winds, and storms are plentiful here, which is funny because half of that is water. Like, what's a cloud? It's water.
That's water vapor. That's how they get it. They get it from the plane of water, but it's now air.
Well, interestingly enough, there is also earth motes, which are the only solid standing surfaces, which are leftovers from various invasions from the plane of Earth. How they fly, I don't know. The main way of navigating
Air
this
magic.
realm... Exactly, air magic. The main way of navigating this realm is through the labyrinth winds, which are a network of air streams that can be navigated by a skilled pilot or flyer. These winds protect parts of the realm, such as the realm of Aqua, AAQA, I don't fucking know, where a small city... AAQA, Aqua, but it's not got a U, so it's like kind of like Aqua.
You still pronounce it aqua.
Okay, Aqua. Which is funny because it's the realm of air. Where a small city sits atop one of these earth motes. Note, I put in a mention for this specifically because the genie, D-J-I-N-N-I, it sounds like genie, but it's not. It's genie.
Ginny?
It's genie.
Ginny.
Ginny Weasley.
Genie,
Yeah, like Ron's sister.
Genie, which is an air genie, live on various little independent castles and little temples on the earth motes throughout the plane. The edge up against the plane of water is cold because fucking the plane of ice is in between them, and the area next to the plane of fire is hot and arid like a desert wind. Again, a lot of air, not a lot of much else. Couple guys on some islands.
Hey,
Hey.
I'm just
Fun
imagining.
fact, Aqua is means master, lord, or god in Urdu.
Urdu.
Urdu, yeah.
Is that what nation is that?
Don't ask me that. That's
Do not ask me follow-up questions. Yeah, my vibe exactly.
No, I just like to imagine the plane of air like.
Pakistan.
Nice.
I like to imagine it like what's the word? You know the dog of wisdom video where it's just a random dog floating through nothing, and then he sees another dog randomly floating on a cloud. Yeah, it's just that random cloud-based interactions. Yeah.
Pakistan and places in other in South Asia like India as well.
India, I think I've heard it from, but that's fine. Nonetheless, so those are the main elemental planes. They form most of it. There are also technically the para-elemental planes. I actually got it wrong. It's not quasi, it's para. The para-elemental planes.
Wow, guy, how could you get that
I'm
wrong?
going to kill you. I'm going to end the Zoom call. I can digitally leave this space immediately.
We will hunt you down.
Fair enough. Between each plane, there are the areas where the planes mingle, being the para-elemental planes of magma, ooze, ice, and ash. They could have picked a better name than ooze, I know.
Can I go to ooze? I would like to go to ooze, sir.
Why
It's
do you
where
want
the
to go to? No, like
It's
why?
where the gooners belong. All the gooners belong in ooze, okay?
You make me angry.
Perfect plane.
Okay, I'm just going to very quickly speed through the para-elemental planes. They're not super big. Again,
Let me
not super
goon on the
detailed.
plane of ooze.
Fuck you. I'd be oozing.
What if we
Matt's
edged on the edge of the water plane and the earth plane and then gooned an ooze?
Jesus Christ.
Matt really was the kid that picked like the gross food option just to be like, no, I like it. You guys just don't get it.
I did like it, you piece of shit. I used to have mayonnaise and honey sandwiches, and I fucking love that shit.
That is the
did
definition of an ooze. You made
You did
ooze.
not.
Mayonnaise and honey. That's
I
ooze.
did.
That's the recipe.
You asked my mum. I used to eat these, and I used to eat them a lot, and they were fucking great.
Yeah, I'll be seeing
It's a
Paul
complimentary
later, so
flavour.
I'll ask.
Creamy, sweet. Like, I can kind of see it. Kind of fucked up, but I see it.
Mayonnaise and honey. Listeners, try it if next time you have a chance.
Listeners, don't.
This is a public health warning. Don't try the ooze.
Try the ooze. Tell me about the plate of ooze, please.
I will tell you about the Plane of Ooze. The Plane of Ooze is a big fucking swamp. It's a home to the Swamp of Oblivion, deep pools of mud and muck, which anything that is thrown into it cannot be found for at least a century. So if a powerful wizard wants a MacGuffin you've got a hold of, put it in the swamp. You've got 100 years to either figure it out or make it someone else's problem.
Sounds about
I like
right.
that.
If I was the hero, I would legitimately just find a way to the Plane of Ooze, chuck the thing in there, and then write a prophecy. Like, I prophesize that he will find the fucking Staff of Power in 100 years. All right, someone else's problem.
It's true. It's true.
It's just that easy. Back to, so that's earth and water. The plane of magma is earth and fire, which is an extension of the fountains of creation. Big volcano, very lava. You get the gist. The plane of ice, which is also called the Frostfell, is between the planes of water and air, just being a bunch of massive glaciers and ice flats, dotted again, white dragons and yetis.
Question, because you mentioned they were like the forge of the world. In world, when there's like a volcano comes up from below, is that like a slip between the realms, and that's like magma coming up from the fire plane?
Quite likely, yes, especially with
Sick.
the source of the world. Because the thing is, like, it's kind of weird because the Forgotten Realms have like a planet that you are on that is like dig into a ball, there are cave, there are thing.
Yeah.
But there's also like I think specifically I'm remembering as well from our campaign schisms, which are like little cut holes into the elemental planes. For our campaign, there were like 4 main ones, but I think according to the lore, there's basically just like little spots where at the most intense areas, lava
kinda
pools
sick.
meet with the pool of magma. And if a hole widens or something changes, volcanoes sprout, ice floods an area, whatever else, the climate changes.
Yeah, there's some sort of like slip in the realms, and there's a little hole, and it splits through.
Realms do butt up against each other quite often.
Yes,
whether or not
sometimes.
they are easily accessible is another thing to debate. But the power of the element come from the plane that they are, associated with.
So yeah, if there's too hard of an earthquake, maybe you'll get a spurt from the plane of magma. If I goon too hard, maybe the plane of ooze will come.
I'm
through.
gonna fucking kill you. That was the bit you were going for. Yeah, if you ooze hard enough, then it does break through. You can break the elemental barrier with your powerful ooze.
Why?
What are the other ones, guy?
There's only one more. We've just said the plane of ice, which is between wind and water. Then there's the
makes
plane
sense.
of ash, which is called the Great Conflagration. That's between the plane of fire and the plane of air. While it appears in a lot of imagery as like just fire, it kind of is, but it's also interesting because it's cited as a place that is extremely good for people who are hiding out, like outlanders. Because essentially there's areas of ash that clump together into small, livable little barriers. If you can make a little house on there, ain't no one gonna fucking find you. You are in a firestorm.
It's true. It's true.
What you said a big word at the start there. What is that? For other people, I know what that means, but for other people,
Conflagration?
yeah. For other people listening, what's that? That means I know what it means, but I'll let you explain it.
Conflagration is like fire air, I think. It's like literally like...
It is like
yes.
literally it's like immediate ignition, I believe.
Let me get the definition. Conflagration, an extensive fire which destroys a great deal of land or property.
I knew that, of course, but like that's just so everyone knows. So everyone.
Coming
Yeah,
from
you've made that quite clear, Matt. Yeah.
coming from late 15th century Latin, from the verb conflagrare being con, which means intense, and combined with flagrare, which means, quoting the definition on Google, to blaze.
Ooh.
It is the great blaze.
You and me gonna flagrare? Flagrare.
Man, we gonna make the plane of conflagration, the plane of ash and the plane of ooze be coming together with the way we be blazing and shut.
Do you think you can hotbox the realm of ash?
Yeah, probably. Honestly, I think it's
So,
got stinking.
So I'm gonna save us from whatever the fuck Matt was thinking of for a second there. And so water and earth creates ooze. Mm-hmm. Water and air creates Frostfang, ice
Correct.
area.
The Frostfell.
Frostfell. Then the air and fire creates the firestorm.
The plane of ash,
configuration,
yes.
plane of ash. And then the fire and earth creates the fire earth, the magma realm.
The magma realm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, these are all the power elemental. They're basically just the spaces where the planes collide. There's a transitionary area, which is interesting because it kind of implies that the elemental planes are like a big ring that you can kind of go between.
Yeah.
You could hypothetically do a big circular trek around
It's
the whole
actually
thing.
a race they do yearly. It's a big race around.
You'd be
That would,
surprised.
if you were doing like a slightly more steampunky or maybe kind of goofy steampunky setting, I could totally see like a great amazing race. What do they call it? The fucking like
around the world in 28 days or whatever it was.
No,
The Amazing Race.
Yeah,
You're talking about The Amazing Race.
not the show, The Amazing Race, like the real life, like the old movie that was like around the world.
Around the world in 28 days.
Yeah, I think it is that.
Isn't it 80 days
Burn.
was the original? The original book was 80 days.
That's the one. My bad.
Around the world in 80 days.
Am I
That-
referencing
yeah.
the movie?
Maybe.
they had
Whatever it
cars
is,
in
that
the
like
movie. They could go
old-timey
a little
movie
faster.
where there's like...
No,
people trying to
2004. It is
race.
80 days. I'm literally just misremembering it.
It is
That's
80
fair.
days.
Around the world in 80 days is fucking good though.
Yeah, like that kind of vibe, but it's just like some interdimensional creatures trying to race around the elemental ring.
Yeah, it's around the plains in 80 days.
Yeah.
Get some. What are they called? Oh my god, my brain's failing me. Get some Diniji. Get some tieflings. Get some. Yeah. Get your extra planar creatures in there. Absolutely. Technically, there are 8 more elemental planes, being the quasi planes. They are the quasi-elemental planes of radiance, minerals, lightning, steam, salt, dust, ash, and vacuum. I don't know why ash appears twice, but those are associated between the elemental planes and then going upwards towards the positive energy, being fire and positive energy make radiance, fire and earth and positive energy make minerals.
Okay.
Air and positive energy make lightning, and water and positive energy make steam.
Sure.
Sure. Negative quasi-elemental planes being water and negative energy make salt. Sure. I guess. Negative earth and negative energy make dust. Fire and negative energy make ash. And air and negative energy make vacuum.
Sure.
Okay. It's like what do you feel about it? You look at salt, you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. You look at ash, like, dust, you feel like, oh, that sucks. The vacuum sucks, like literally sucks. So like, you know, you just what brings down the vibe, you know?
Going here as well, another thing to mention about the elemental planes is they actually have inner and outer extremes because they are they're slightly more connected to the material plane than a lot of the other outer planes are. A lot of the outer planes are very independent in how they're built. The innermost part, closest to the material plane, is often relatively inhabitable, some almost resembling the prime material plane. At the outermost regions, however, they quickly devolve into just straight elements, no contamination, pure solid rock, open air, massive, infinitely deep and tall ocean with nothing in it, and the just wall of fire of the magma realm, or just lava.
Fair.
With the edge of that butting up against what is called the elemental chaos, which surrounds all of the inner planes. The elemental chaos is a region where instead of the stable coexistence of the prime material, there is coexistence, but it is definitely not stable. There are mountains flowing in massive rivers, clouds of fire and lightning, all the elements not where they're supposed to be. There are small pockets of stability, which are usually carved out by powerful elemental beings, such as, from 2nd edition D&D, Grumbar's home of Roothold, where they have laid claim and stabilized a small area into underground tunnels connecting parts of the astral sea to the outer planes, allowing a stable way to move between the planes. So it can be useful for that particular usage. It does require an enormous amount of power, usually.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I understand. It makes more sense in a world where it's hard to get between realms. But I love like some of the ideas where it's really easy. Like a little bit in like the Warhammer universe, where if you accidentally do magic wrong, you just summon like 20 demons. I love that kind of vibe where you can actually fuck up and make it badly. Like I imagine like Narnia. A magical wood makes you go to Narnia, right? Get that. But that's like you go to the Feywilds. But like I imagine a wizard trying to invent the fridge, and then he opens it up once he's got cold enough, and he just falls into the realm of ice. He's just like, fuck.
No, I really like the idea of an interplanar adventure without the use of the plane shift spell, where you just have to travel between them, because there are a lot of ways in between the planes without using the plane shift spell. Technically speaking, you could go from the prime material to the astral plane, the ethereal plane to the inner planes to the outer planes. You know, all of this are all interconnected just in specific spots, and you have to know the way.
You just gotta find the doorways, yeah.
Lord of the Rings style great journey, but it's just across the planes.
Yeah, this is true.
So yes, those are the inner planes. Very quickly, which of these inner planes are you going to get onto? Which of these inner planes do you particularly want to live on? Which are you feeling like? Feeling an affinity for any of them? Because I'll say this, I fucking hate the fire plane. I'm not going to live in a desert. I would honestly, like picking one, prime material obviously, but I kind of like the plane of water. The plane of water sounds kind of fucking cool. Pirate Central.
I do love the plane of water. I'm always in two minds of like, obviously, like, if we're going to have to be realistic, obviously I've got to say prime material plane. If we're still going to be realistic, but I can't pick the prime material, then I have to say water, because it's the only one that I can see even being slightly survivable.
Hey, Feywild's survivable. Debatably.
But I was going to say, if we're taking off the training wheels of being even remotely realistic and just purely about vibes and fuck yeah, Shadowfell and Feywild are just always my favorite.
So true.
Like, fucking gimme that dark realm of Shadowfell. Like, fuck yeah.
Standing in your evil tower, plotting your evil schemes.
That shit.
Nah, give me actual sunlight. I can't deal with that. It's like, I would love to do the Feywilds, but they like half get, depending on how it's written, half get real sun, half it's fake light. So like,
according to the DMG, technically the entire realm is in eternal twilight. So that's sort of our last moment of sun's light.
Which
That
is a
doesn't seem like the
nightmare.
vibe. That seems like a shit vibe, I'll be honest.
I
prefer
kind of like
constant-
the fat fireflies and little, sort of dusk vibes is very,
Yeah.
cozy.
That is cool.
It
I
is
think
real cool.
the easiest elemental plane to live in, you guys have already mentioned the water plane, but to be different from that, fire seems shit. Earth, if you live underground in a right cave, but again, shit.
Watch out for those DAOs, they're going to slave you.
yeah, slavery seems bad, I'll be honest.
Easy, just rise to the top, then you're chilling.
Fuck. I'm gonna go, if I can get an island, if they'll give me an island, I'm taking the airplane. Give me an island on the airplane.
You're taking the airplane?
Yeah, give me an island on the airplane.
He's getting on the
vibe.
airplane.
Just don't crash it anywhere bad.
Yeah. Give me the airplane. I'll fly. I'll do good. I'm gonna be a pilot. That's what I'm gonna be.
I can so imagine you with one of those fucking World War II leather caps and the goggles behind your little biplane.
Flying from island to island in the D&D world would be kind of sick.
So
actually.
good. Would be kind of cool.
Little like
Danny boy to the airplane. Danny boy to the airplane. Come in, Danny boy.
Oh my god, no! What are you blowing up? There's mostly peaceful creatures in the earth, in the airplane.
Some wyverns out there.
That's true. I think there are some dragons out there. Anyway, that's fine. It's Dungeons and Dragons. What would it be without dragons?
Exactly.
That's actually an original note I saw. Gary Gygax made a post on the equivalent of a post in the 1980s by putting a thing in Dragon magazine about the planes originally. But going back to like the original version of D&D, it was literally just like, here's the world. We don't know. There's magic. They just
Make it
didn't
up
have
yourself.
it defined. Which,
Make
like,
it up
of course.
yourself, assholes.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's generally where we're sitting with the inner planes. Next time, if we don't cut this part out, then we'll be talking about the outer planes. But yes,
Yeah.
tune in next week to find out some more about the planes.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah,
Bring
so,
us back
yeah.
to those outer planes.
Thank you, guys. This is great. I can't wait to ooze on the ooze plane.
Don't you fucking come near me with your ooze hands. Wash your hands before you come in here next.
But well, thank you so much to everyone for listening to today, and thank you much more to our Patreons. Going from the bottom up this time, we have our novice lawkeepers, Uranian Games, Tiani Wilson, Mike, loading name. And we have Jacob from Norway, our novice lawkeepers, and we have our prestige lawkeeper. We have Shadow, and we have Josh from Maine, and our high lawkeeper Luke Newcomb.
Godspeed, soldiers. Thank you for supporting our work.
Thank you so much. We appreciate all of you. And if you want to become a Warkeepers Gay, you get mini-sodes, you get scripts, and videos of the recordings. Yes.
And if you want to check out more about our D&D world, you can go back to our Baldur's Gate 3 episode, or otherwise wait for next week's continuation of the Planes of D&D.
Yeah.
And with that, I say good night.
And good morning. Oh, fuck.
Good.
How we doing? Is it good
Fuck's
night,
sake.
good morning, good afternoon, or is it good afternoon?
get a good goodbye.
We could never get a clean exit. It's fine.
Okay, bye.
Fuck.
Don't mog. No. Goodbye and then mog. That's how we should do it. This is us
Bye-bye.
releasing video content. It's just going to be.
Thank you for listening to Living by the Law. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave a review, tell your friends, and if you're feeling extra generous, become an official lawkeeper by joining our Patreon today. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Living by the Law. All links are in the description, and thank you in advance. We have been, and always will be, living by the law. Thank you for your company, and good night.